on to tonight, so I'm a little bummed we don't get to do something like that in one of the, the great venues and cities that we typically go to on for the STAR conference. But happy to be in front of you to talk a little bit about some of this stuff. This is really exciting what we're adding here, this partnership with Router Limits, which is a company now owned by Bark. And maybe you've heard of Router Limits, maybe you've heard about Bark, but the reason we think this is so important is this is really the next marketable, sellable product that you can offer into your regions. And it's got some very compelling reasons why we think customers will be very interested. Your customers will be very interested in signing on to this product that you can offer them. So that's me. I've been doing these STAR conferences now for like 10 years, so I'm sure I've met many of you already. So starting here, brief history of paid services. So, this is, our team, we kind of sat there and we're thinking like, what is it that has been added over time from telephone companies, rural telephone companies that started 100 years ago with, copper wires delivering telephone to adding, other than little things added to phone service over time, like, call waiting and stuff like that, or, but things in our space, in the technology space, broadband services. Then you had TV video services, wireless broadband, which, initially in many places there was a charge for. Many of you may just throw that in today as a no charge, just based on kind of the competitive landscape, to most recently managed Wi-Fi services. All of these things were able to allow you to collect more revenue by offering more services that the customers wanted. But, the question is, what's next? Most of our customers, the area that we service is rural America. So most of our ISPs are not in cities like, say, Austin, Texas. And I did a little research last night. During 2018 to 2019, Austin, Texas was adding 170 people per day. So again, most of our areas, rural America, they're not adding the number of people like that where you're signing on, 30, 50 new customers every month. Most of our partners are in cities with minimal population growth, possibly declining population growth. If the population isn't declining, the user base could be declining, or the customers could be declining just based on competition. And that could be, competition offering an asymmetric solution. It could be someone like Verizon with their data plans, with their smartphones, not a traditional fixed over fiber, over copper internet provider. So, there's a lot more competition eroding at customers. And, if we look at the history of, what ISPs have provided and charged for, we feel that the best way to maintain revenue, especially in a scenario where it may be a declining population, is to offer new billable services, again, that those customers are going to want, and possibly things that your competitors are not offering. And later in the presentation, I'm going to talk about Verizon's offering in this space and how it has a huge hole that you could drive a truck through versus this offering that is pretty rock solid and robust. All right, so the partnership that we have here, a company called Router Limits. So they've been around for a while. Their focus is protecting children from dangers on the internet. So this is kind of their mission statement. And that includes protection on mobile devices on and off the home network. And that's a big thing where this differentiates from competing solutions. So, even if the kid turns their phone onto LTE and turns off the Wi-Fi, they're still stuck by the restrictions I as a parent have set. Or if they go to their friend Sally's house, or if they go to a Starbucks, or if they're at school, it doesn't matter if they're away from the home network. Being able to protect them wherever they are based on the policies I want to set, that's really the key. Bark is a company that acquired Router Limits, and they really do an add-on to this service because they focus on monitoring a lot of the stuff that kids are doing today, younger kids, older kids, but social media platforms, things that they do when they text message, doing emojis and things like that. They really, and text messages, just that in and of itself. So they really analyze that type of stuff, targeting that, looking for self-harm, If a kid is kind of going down the path of self-harm, suicide, something like that, threats to school, threats to other kids, threats to them from other kids, or predatory behavior. What we do as ComTrend is, we build a product, admittedly a modem router, it's kind of a, it's a pretty similar device across the spectrum. They provide internet access, they provide wireless, they do it well. The company behind it, like ComTrend, we believe in our products and we believe in our support to our customers. But in the end, like other CPE vendors, we're just providing a piece of hardware. What we see here is adding very smart, industry-leading companies that have some type of software offering that really increases the value to the ComTrend hardware. And so that is why we came upon this relationship with Router Limits. And the other thing about this product, in order for it to be interesting to your end customers, it has to deliver value. It has to be more than just a Wi-Fi management, device management product that is very valuable in month 1 when I set up all the policies on all my devices. But as month 2, 3, 4, 5 go on, I don't really go back into that. I don't touch it. I don't remanage the devices. Maybe when I buy something new, I bring a new tablet home, or my kid comes home from college or something like that. I set up a policy for his device, but it ends there. I don't have to go back to it. This is very different than that. This is something that we see where in month 1 versus month 12 versus month 15, it's actively monitoring, it's actively providing information to the parent. So it's something where a customer continues to see value in this tool. All right. One other thing we're going to cover, the next few slides show a survey that came out by Moore and Associates. Very brand new, fresh survey that was an industry research firm. They surveyed like 1,200 people, so it would be statistically relevant. And it actually came out during June of this year. So it was right during the COVID time, asking parents, what are they interested in? What are they concerned about? Who do they want to try to find these types of products from? And you'll see with the next few slides that this all falls right into line with exactly what this offering is. So this being the research study in the bottom right corner there, you can see the More Insights and Strategy, June 2020. Pretty cool presentation or white paper. It's maybe like 6 or 8 pages. So I'd suggest Googling it and reading it because it has even more statistics and more charts than what I'm going to show you. But again, this speaks to why we think this is such a valuable product your customers will pay for. First one, this figure 3 here, concerns about online experience for children and grandchildren. What's the people they surveyed biggest concern? So too much screen time, exposure to inappropriate content, and security. 84% of the parents, of the people that they surveyed who were parents, stated they wanted parental controls for their children. And so what are the concerns driving this? Again, screen time. So I don't want my kid on the Xbox when I think they're up sleeping at night. They're on their iPhone or they're on their Xbox all night. But I want to make sure that my computer, I can watch Netflix all night because I'm a parent. I can do whatever I want. The other thing is that during homework times, I don't want my kid on that Xbox. I want to make sure that they're doing nothing on the internet other than going to maybe their school portal or Wikipedia for like research or some other type of research platform to finish the homework and papers that they need to do. All right, so this one, Internet Management Parental Controls, interest in a mobile app that filters content. So, not only do I want something like this, but, would I be interested if it was delivered or accessible via a mobile app? And, obviously that really points out 66% of the respondents very interested, somewhat interested in this. So to have a solution like this, it really needs to be easily usable. The router limits through the ComTrend, which resides on the ComTrend gateway as a client, is accessible via an app, via the web, whatever the parent, whatever the manager feels most comfortable using it, that's how they can, set the policies. And it's as far as an app, you're talking both iOS and Android, can be loaded on smartphones and tablets. And that's also very key as we talk about the protection of this. The other thing important for service providers like yourself, white labeled to your ISP's look and feel. So it's not going to be unless you want it to be, but it's not going to be a parental controls delivered by Comtrend. It's not going to be parental controls delivered by router limits. It's going to be, parental controls delivered by copper wire telephone. Your logo on there, the company they already know, the company they already trust. As far as this one, interest in a mobile app to limit application. Again, very interested in that. And not only can this limit specific applications, you can also do things like pause internet. So cut off internet completely from any device that is online or any user that is online. So, during lunch hours or during school time, I can turn the kid's phone off. Their ability to get to the internet via LTE, via web browsing on their phone can be completely turned off because, hey, kids at school, there's nothing else they should be doing other than paying attention. Now, a little different today. I mean, half of your kids may actually be going to a physical building for school. Half of them may be doing it from home. But either way, I can set those policies so that I can make sure they're doing what I want them to do at the time I want them to do it. You can also limit and restrict applications like Facebook, Instagram, again, inside the home or outside the home. Prevent a phone from going online to a browser to go to Facebook or to the app to go to Facebook. As far as parental control functions, they're asking where, as a customer, where would I expect to get something like this? So again, they surveyed 1,200 people. The second highest response was CSP, what they called CSP, so communication service providers, we call ISPs. Second to, I'm sorry, that was the second most. The first most traditional security vendor, second most CSPs, and then you go down to hardware device manufacturers and then commercial retailers. My opinion is the markets that we service, again, more rural markets, the most trusted technology company is going to be the ISP, the telco, the company that's been in that area for 100 years, delivered the phone, delivered the television, delivered the video, is the most technologically advanced company in my neighborhood. That's who I'm gonna trust. So I would hazard to guess that in our areas, the CSPs would be even higher than a traditional security vendor. Some company from Silicon Valley or a national brand. I'd rather go with a brand that I know. As far as router limits, what are some of the things it does? So including, as I mentioned, there is screen time. So I can set different rules for different times of day. So including exceptions. So, during homework time, kid can't go out to the internet to do anything other than Wikipedia, school's web portal. Maybe I'm a cool dad and I let the kid listen to Pandora, listen to music, but that's it. I've blocked everything else that the kid can do. Bandwidth, so that's screen time. You filter content, which we'll go over in a little bit. Real-time browsing, tracking, history. I'll show you what those screens look like. Internet pause button is what I mentioned before, where it's dinner time, no one's phone's gonna work. Bandwidth monitoring includes some troubleshooting that a customer can do on the network before calling for help. So this could be something to help you as an ISP. I give this as a tool to my customer where they can do, and you can turn these things off. You don't have to offer this, but you could have a speed test. A lot of times when a customer goes to a speed test, they're on their phone, they're in the backside of their house, they're far away from their router, they're going over Wi-Fi, and the speed test is coming back and showing, terrible rates versus what they're paying you for. So now they have a complaint. I went to speed.net and this is what it says. In this scenario, the speed test here, since it's on the router, it goes, the router limits is a client on the router. It does the speed test from the router out to the internet. So that is the speed that's going to be delivered in the app that the customer is going to look at, because that is truly what you are offering them. How far away they walk from the router, that's kind of on them. Also shows them things like, and this is again to the end customer if you wanted to offer this, like the first time a device was ever, I can get a list of all devices that are connected to my network or have ever connected to my network. I can see the first time they connected and the last time they connected. So as a customer, maybe that's my first look as to like, well, why is this thing working or is it not working? Oh, it is connected. It must not be my, my Wi-Fi repeater. It's got to be my phone is the thing that I'm having a problem with. You can do things like put your users into groups, and I'll show you that next, but kids, guests, IoT products, I can name the groups whatever I want. I can filter content and do safe searches. So essentially, by turning this on, I could go onto a browser, but if I've sorted out certain things like pornography or, gambling or something like that, and the kid is looking for, the line in the football games for this weekend, it'll give me returns on a Google search, but it will actually sort out all pictures. It will sort out all websites that'll have lines, anything like that, just based upon kind of a safe search. So Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, those types of browsers, it can do a safe search through there. Again, device level control. And one other thing I wanted to mention on here, there is something that they call the nuclear option, which is, kids are pretty smart. This app has taken a lot of that into account, but there is something, if you had just one of those crazy hacker kids that somehow finds a way around this, you can block all unknown traffic. So any traffic going to the internet that router limits cannot identify, it just won't allow. And as those things start happening, there is anonymous reporting back where it will identify like website. The first time anyone visits a website, that website is now in router limits catalog of not who went there, but this website exists because so many are added every day. This website exists. Now they will crawl that website and try to figure out what it is and categorize it. Okay. Well, all right. So I'm going to show you some screenshots and just talk a little through it. This is a static demo. We can do a dynamic demo. If anyone is interested in this, you want to get your marketing folks on the line, your engineering folks on the line, ask some of the tough questions. We'll get Skylar from Router Limits on the phone, and he'll do this live for you and show you how things happen. And, he obviously understands this product, better than anyone. But the first step would be, as you launch this product as a customer, is to put your devices and group devices and people into groups. So again, you could do it by people, you can do it by devices. I could have an IoT list, and that is my washer dryer and I don't know, whatever other like garage door opener or something like that. I could pause the internet on all those things if I wanted to and let other things go. So you set different policies to the different groups based upon what you're trying to protect. This is an example of how you do that. So now I might be in a certain group, say this is the kids, during the red area, which is, oh, you can't see the time at the top, but that's like up until, let's say 6 a.m. and maybe it's like 11 p.m. would be the second, or probably 10 p.m., the second to last column there in red. Internet's blocked. So the kids can't even get online, no matter what device they're using. The blue, they have full reign. The yellow, that's homework time. So during homework time, they can only go to that school website. There are certain categories, which I'll show you next. And as you can see, there's the restrictions. I've put the restrictions in there, or the person that set this up put the restrictions in there. So pornography, threats. That one with the mask is like VPN proxies. So it actually blocks any type of proxy to get out to the internet. And then I can set exceptions for sites, which is blocked by this template thing here, but that's where I could put, the school website if I wanted to. They're allowed to go there. These are some of the canned areas that where websites have already been assigned to. So dating apps, games, search engines, sports. So, if my wife had access to this device, that would be blocked for me. drugs, pornography, shopping, threats, gambling, proxies, and social media. On the right are actual specific applications if I wanted to block, applications or websites. This is an example of, and again, this is something that a parent would use as often or as little as they want to, but it's there for them. This is showing every single website that was visited on this specific day. You refine the results by a time frame, days. So every single website that it went to, and under that box there, it says what device went there. If I click if I was to click one of these websites, this box will pop up. So I, as a parent, don't even need to go to these sites to see what they are. I'm actually going to jump to the next page real quick, and then I'll come back to this one. So these are like the approved ones, let's say, except for that one that's in black at the bottom. If I wanted to see all the ones that weren't approved, I had already restricted, but someone tried to visit that site, that's this list here. So I, as a parent, so what is Live Jasmine? I don't know. I don't recognize that. Cars McLaren, that's blocked because shopping happens to be blocked on this site. First one's blocked because it's pornography. So I click on here. Instead of going to the site, this box pops up. Hey, on December 19th at this time, someone went to this website using the Xbox One in the kids group during the homework time. So it's kind of telling you every single thing that was violated, what we know about this site. And this tells you what the site is, right? Again, without me as a parent having to go there, I can see what it is. This is the slide prior to this. Same thing here. Like here, someone wanted to know what Hulu was. So click that. It tells me what Hulu is. Hulu streams TV and movies. So, okay, now I know what that site is. Again, anytime a site pops up that's never been visited before by any Router Limits user, it goes into basically a library where Router Limits tries to figure out exactly what it is and categorize it into one of these areas. All right, another thing that it can do is show bandwidth usage of different devices. So I could see if one of my devices is been hijacked or something like that. I could see that here. If all of a sudden my Samsung washer was like going crazy out to the internet, there's probably a problem there. Okay, so how is this different than other products that are offered there or have been offered over the past? People have mentioned, CPE providers have mentioned parental controls forever. We would always say, oh, you have parental controls. And what that meant was there was like a whitelist that I could go in, or I could, there's a blacklist. I could say, you can't go to these websites. But, as time has gone on, it's just impossible to manage that. You can't possibly know all the sites that people are going to go to. And that parental controls that was offered on CPEs was just kind of irrelevant. Then there were products that came out after that, things like Net Nanny, if you guys remember that. So, software that you could load on a computer. Challenge today, the number of new products that access the internet isn't just laptops, it's TVs, it's game consoles. That made a software that you limited on the CPU antiquated because I can't put that software on my Xbox. So to compete in today's market, you need to control at the router, and you need to be able to control software and apps on client devices that travel outside the home. So again, maybe with Net Nanny, my house was protected through my computer, but nowadays I don't even know if Net Nanny's still around, but kid goes out with a cell phone, they go to Bobby's house down the road, they could do whatever they want there. Had a user interface that was difficult to use. That really does refer to that kind of the list that would be in a CPE device, very difficult to use. Those slides I was showing you before, that is how easy it is on this on Router Limits. I mean, it's drag and drop, it's highlight boxes, turn from blue to yellow. As you can see, there's a lot of white space. Ignore this template at the bottom, the one-click template, because that's a pop-up because we clicked the template information bar. Typically, that's not there. That's just white space under there. So it's a lot of white space, so it's very simple for a user to use. Blacklist sites always changing, difficult to keep track. And again, router limits does that hard work of, crawlers, identification, categorization. And I couldn't solve the problem of kids simply turning off the Wi-Fi and streaming through a phone or tablet or going to Bobby's house. Now, I mentioned before a gaping hole in what Verizon offers. So Verizon has a product that they offer called Smart Family, and it's $9.99 per month per account. So like at my house, we have 2 phones and we have a tablet. So that would be almost $30 to manage those devices. Now, if you look right on their website, it says currently it's only compatible on smartphones and Android tablets with a Verizon line. Now, obviously I assume they're going to get iOS on there. So they'll have Apple phones, covered soon enough, I'm sure. But again, only those things with the Verizon line. So if I have a tablet that's just to go to Wi-Fi, it doesn't have a Verizon, phone number tied to it, LTE, I can still take that internet and take that device and get to the internet and get around whatever policies I've created on the Verizon. And again, what about things like Xbox? What about things like laptops? None of those things are covered. So that Verizon offering has a huge hole that is something, if you're going up against it, especially if you launch a product like this, that you should be touting that. That should be like number 1 on your advertising pamphlet or commercials or billboards or whatever, how different this is as a product to that. All right. So with this is router limits. So now it can be offered as a managed services option. So it is a product that you can sell. This is what the benefit to router limits. Automated notifications are sent to the end user, the administrator of the device, of the software, via multiple options. So it can go phone, text, email. Perfect example that I really like is the way you get it to work on a kid's phone is you download an app to that phone, the router limits app to their phone. Whatever policies I've set up on the router, it is reflected on that phone. So if I knock off gambling, then all of a sudden that kid's phone, immediately they can't go to gambling websites. So kid tries to take the app off the phone. It will, if they remove the app, you get a notification as the administrator. I'm not even sure they can remove it without a PIN number, but let's just say they can, if you didn't set that up. If they remove it, you as the administrator get an email or a text message, whatever I set, and they can't put it back on without the administrator's approval or access to do that. So it's the hand caught in the cookie jar. I mean, they can't keep me from getting that email or that text message, whatever I've set up, and they can't put it back on without my knowing. Router limits does that tough work of looking up the website. So I mentioned that a few times that they crawl. And here's router limits technology enables management, monitoring of internet access through all of these devices. I think of like kids at the school, it's like a brain trust of like research people at like the Rand Corporation, where they're all kind of trying to do the same thing, which is get around their parents and figure out a way to get around their parents. So, your kid may not be technically astute enough to try to figure out a way around it, but, Sally in your kid's class, they think that they know how to get around a system like this. So that's why you need a company like a Router Limits who is completely dedicated and focused on these types of like threats or ways for kids to try to manage around it, to be able to block that and to respond to that. So that's how they came up with things like blocking proxies like VPN. If you look at different apps like Facebook, just to give you an idea of kind of how hard it is, there's over 150 ways to access Facebook. So that's, through the web, through apps, through other websites that'll launch you there, over 150 ways. So when you block Facebook, it blocks every single path to getting to it. You can block sites as well as apps, things like Fortnite, Clash of Clans, Instagram, Amazon, eBay, Hulu, Facebook. All of that means, you need a company that's very smart in understanding and managing the APIs of these types of applications. And again, that's what they specialize in. I mentioned at the beginning how BARC purchased router limits because they saw it as a very good complement to what they offered. Now, BARC is an industry leader. In the next slide, I'll kind of show you how big they are in safeguarding children at home and in schools. So same kind of thing, monthly fee, but they connect to 30+ platforms to monitor text messages, emails, social activity for signs of harmful interaction and content. They get those alerts out to the administrator, and they allow you to manage, all of these policies. If a kid comes into my house, and a lot of kids will have like a burner social media account. So, I know about their Facebook or their Instagram, but I don't know that they have another one that they've never told me about. And that's the one they plan all their parties and stuff with. Well, if someone in my house visits Facebook from a site, from an account that's not already registered, it will notify me. So maybe that was, my kid's friend came over and they logged into their Facebook. Okay. But, if it's only my kid at my house and someone went to Facebook and it's not one of the 3 registered Facebook accounts that I have, now I can ask my kid like, hey, what's this other Facebook account? I need to see this and I need to register this one in it. It will give you, it analyzes, say, emojis. So, if a kid is, they're going to throw a party and a kid sends a text message or does an instant message or something like that, it has a cocktail glass, then it will actually send just that text message to me. It's not going to send the ones before it. It's not going to send the ones after it, but it's going to send me that one because I flagged, alcohol or substance abuse as something that I'm concerned about. So it'll say, hey, this text message was sent at this time with this emoji. Okay, so, do I have to talk to my kid about that or not? The example I always use is, especially when you talk about self-harm, like suicide, maybe the way my kid talks, they say, oh, I gag myself with a spoon, or I might kill myself. I can't believe I made that mistake. If that's just the way my kid talks, then, and I have self-harm checked, it's going to send me that message, but I know, hey, that's how my kid talks. I don't have to worry about that. But if that's all of a sudden something I've never seen from my kid before, now I know maybe I need to be concerned. So it's a very, very powerful product. So much so that you could see some of the names who have adopted BARC. CenturyLink, most recently, that CenturyLink partners with BARC. I think that happened maybe about a month and a half ago. Earthlink is another one. Lenovo and Microsoft, as far as different manufacturers. They are in over 2,500 school districts in the U.S. today. So as the school district issues an iPad or a laptop to the kids, BARC is enabled on that with certain policy settings that the school has already set. So 5.2 million children protected today, 16 school shootings prevented. So that's not just a marketing kind of tagline. That is actually 16 that resulted in an arrest. So where the kid or the person had the means and ability to do it and was starting to make noise that they were going to do something like that. So someone was actually arrested. And then 75,000 severe self-harm situations detected. So what does and one other thing I'll say on this is, so this router limits BARC kind of mergers relatively new. So some of these things are being added into the router limits offering. So there is a roadmap to some of these other things, but they do exist today as 2 separate products. And Comtrin can help you with those 2 things, but they will eventually be completely seamless under one app. So example of a pricing structure. Now this is so here's let's say a typical service provider. So they have 5,000 access lines. They launch this product, they start advertising it to their customers, and they decide to do it on a monthly service. So they get 400 customers take it. So 8% of their customers take it at a monthly charge, similar to that Verizon one, actually at the exact same price as the Verizon one, except instead of $9.99 per line, it's $9.99 per household. So it's $120 for a year for a customer, an end customer of yours. times those 400 customers, it's almost $50,000. So that's the kind of, that's one type of way of offering the service. Another way of talking to a service provider right now, they're actually looking to put this into their premier service offering. So if you buy their fastest speed tier, this is an adder on top of it. It comes with it. And I would suggest that they do that for that higher speed tier. And then for the lower speed tiers, maybe do it a la carte. As far as CommTrend products, so back in the day, router limits sold a little like hockey puck that would go in front of the router and would do all of this stuff. But we've actually kind of eliminated that device by putting the client on our CPEs. So if you have these CPEs already out there, it would just be a matter of getting the most updated code. And you could work with our engineering team and we could send out a code that now it's on all of these devices. And then we would just have to talk about your launching of the product and, cost to launch to your market. 6895, 3060, 3120, and 5319. And then all of our future gateways, we'll add it as demanded. It's just kind of in an order of priority. So if it's a 3071 customer, one of our Wi-Fi 6 units that wants it first, that'll be the first unit to get it. Speaking of some of our products, just real quick, I'm going to show you some of the new ones that we have. So here is our PRT 6301. This one is currently shipping. So this is our next generation of the 6895. If you're familiar with that, just an Ethernet, fiber to the home router because you put it behind an ONT. But big advantages here versus our 6895, 1 watt on the output power and AX 5400. Also, you can see we've changed our form factor to that stand up with internal antennas versus the external antennas. 6302, this is another fiber to the home router. This will be the next one we're coming out with. So we have 2 that are coming out right now. Wi-Fi 6, AX 6000 instead of 5400, and 2.5 gig WAN port. So a little bit more powerful. Here's our 3071. This is a VDSL, single line VDSL unit, AX 5400, 1 watt also. Many of you are familiar with this product. We had a temporary shortage on VR 3600, which should end this month. So we actually did a promo deal for a number of customers to give this one at the same price. So a few of you have probably already been exposed to this product. And speaking of that, going forward, talk to your CommTrend sales rep if you want to stick on the 3071, and we'll work on pricing there for you. 6201. So this is going to be our next version of the NL3120. And, when I say next version, these other units aren't going away. So 6895, we have no roadmap right now to EOL that product. 3120, no roadmap to EOL that product. Even the 3112, which is the 802.11n, 3120 being dual band, and then this one being Wi-Fi 6. Currently our plans are to keep all 3 products. And so this one, samples should be available very soon. There's our 3120. Remember, we do have a voice version of this product, which is the 3240. We have that 3060, which our inventory will be coming back up this month. Wi-Fi Extend, many of you guys may be familiar with this, or Wi-Fi Extend 2.0 is the actual technical name of it. That's our Wi-Fi mesh. So in the past, when we initially launched Wi-Fi mesh, we did it different than most everyone else. We did it with G.hn products. So our endpoints off of a Powerline extension using G.hn had Wi-Fi. And our goal and our philosophy there was your best connection is always going to be a hardwire connection. I'll talk a little bit about actually the room I'm in right now, how I'm using it here. But recently we've added a more traditional wireless repeater to our menu. So now we have it both ways. If you have a scenario where Powerline won't work, or you don't like Powerline, and you want to just do it with a wireless repeater, it's a small enough application that you only need 1 device. So you don't need a device on both ends, then you can go with our wireless repeater. All right. So starting first with the G.hn, so that's the 9172 AC. We also have a wall mount 9182 that just plugs right in. This is the desktop version. This is the one that I'm using in the room I'm at right now. And this image is exactly why I'm using it. So I'm in a garage, not in a barn, I'm in a garage. My wireless router's at the front of my house. I have a G.hn unit plugged into the wall there. I'm probably, I don't know, maybe 100 yards from where that is, in a garage. So it's an outbuilding separated from the house. So in order to get Wi-Fi in here and to watch my TV on the wall, I would need a Wi-Fi to go out the wall of my house, you know, about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 feet into the wall of this room here and give me a good wireless access inside this room. So, you know, wireless repeater is probably not going to be the most ideal because of those physical barriers. So I have a G.hn unit, the 9172 AC. I've got a zip tied to the back of my television, plugged into the wall. It gets the wireless there. That my TV is plugged right into that device. So it's got a hardwire connection into my TV, which is a smart TV. And then I have Wi-Fi for this room, which I'm operating off of right now. If I wanted the one to plug directly into the wall, that's the 9182. The 918 series is faster from a speed perspective. I'm going to speed up here. That's our new wireless repeater. So looks kind of like a Dyson fan. And it's again, Wi-Fi mesh. Those are all of our devices for Wi-Fi expansion. And the second to last slide here. So again, why do we add router limits? You know, first of all, it increases the value of those CPE, those modem routers that you're already deploying today. All you need is a firmware update. And now all of a sudden, all those devices can offer router limits in Bark. And again, we would just need to talk about the price of launching that product. We feel like that reduces attrition. If you sell this to your customer base and now they've set up all their policies, they're not going to switch from you to go to the cable vendor. I mean, they've got everything they need from you. So it increases stickiness and of course increases average revenue per user. If you want a very in-depth presentation, let's schedule something with Skylar. And again, get your marketing people on there, the people who think about price to the market and know what the customers are willing to pay for, you know, as well as your engineers who would have to be the ones to implement and support it and ask those hard questions. Here is the Comtrend sales team. So hopefully you know Jose and Danny, Steve and Paige. Gerard, for the most part's up in Canada. So probably not working with him too much. But yeah, that's it. So I open it to questions. Went a little bit longer than I wanted to. But Roger, you got any questions for me?
So far, the main questions have been pricing. You can reach out to me or anybody here at CSSA, and we'll definitely get that taken care of for you. And there are a few sample requests, which I will take care of personally. But I would like to open it up to Scott and see if he has anything he wants to add.
AJ, we've got a question about branding.
Yes.
On the security solution, is there a minimum requirement for branding of that solution?
So we'll talk to, I would say no. We'll talk to Skylar about that. Like we could have that conversation with the customer. But this is an enterprise level product, meaning that you're not paying like per customer. You're paying for your the customer base essentially. And then, you know, and then at that point, actively going out and trying to get customers to sign on. So, you know, my understanding is there is no minimum and no, you know, different cost structure for having it branded, not having it branded.
Okay. AJ, the next question is in regards to a server. Is a server required on my network, or is the solution in the cloud? And if so, whose cloud is it on? Amazon?
I don't know the answer to the second part of that question as far as whose cloud is it on. Skylar would know that, but I can tell you it is cloud-based, so you don't need the servers at your location. So they have I was in a presentation with him the other day and he mentioned he has a fleet of servers. So where they're actually housed, I can't tell you.